The planet shimmered beneath twin suns, its cities grown rather than built, vast coral-like spires rising from shallow seas, connected by living bridges that pulsed faintly with bioluminescence. The dominant species, the Valori, valued precision, hierarchy, and emotional restraint. Love was permitted only when efficient. Loyalty was expected only when contractually enforced. And devotion, pure, voluntary, irrational devotion, was mocked. That was why Ashatir, third daughter of the high-tide matron, laughed the first time she noticed the human. He stood every cycle at the same edge of the council terrace, rain or heat, tides high or low. He waited without being summoned, without assurance, without reward. His name was Elias Rowan, an emissary from Earth assigned as a cultural liaison after humanity's admission into the Interstellar Accord. He bowed, not low, not submissive, but respectful, every time Ashatir passed. She never acknowledged him. Does he believe persistence equals worth? Ashatir asked her aide one morning, amusement rippling through her finned collar. The aide glanced nervously. Humans are emotional, my lady. Ashatir's lips curved. Then he will learn. The Valori court was not cruel by design, but it was merciless in education. Elias was ignored during sessions, spoken over in debates, and excluded from ceremonial gatherings. His proposals for shared research and humanitarian corridors were shelved without explanation. Still, he stayed. When questioned by other delegates why he tolerated such dismissal, Elias only said, because walking away would prove them right. Ashatir heard that eventually, and she laughed again. Middle. Time passed differently on Valora. Tides marked months, currents marked years. Through it all, Elias remained. He learned the Valori language without translators. He studied their customs, memorized their tide songs, and adapted his schedule to their cycles of rest. He corrected no one when they mispronounced his name. He accepted slights with quiet dignity. That was what unsettled Ashatir. You defend him, said Counselor Rethkal, watching Elias help stabilize a damaged tide pylon after a storm.
Why?
I do not, Ashatir replied sharply. But you observe. Observation, to the Valori, implied interest. Interest implied imbalance. Ashatir told herself it was curiosity alone. Humans were new. Studying weakness was wise. Yet when Elias collapsed during a prolonged council session, his body unaccustomed to Valori atmospheric density, Ashatir found herself rising before anyone else. She caught him before he struck the living floor. His weight surprised her. Humans were denser than they looked. I'm fine, he murmured, even as his vision blurred. Please don't adjourn. She stared down at him, irritation sparking. You risk physical failure for political theater?
No, he said.
For continuity. That word lingered. Later, during recovery, Ashatir visited him unannounced. Humans were known to exaggerate injuries, but Elias lay still, pale, breathing shallowly. You could request reassignment, she said coolly. Earth would not lose status. And lose trust. Elias replied, yes, they would. She scoffed. Trust is negotiated. Not always. She circled his chamber, examining artifacts from Earth, books, plants preserved in glass, images of oceans far deeper than Valora's seas. Why endure this? She asked at last. We have offered you nothing. Elias met her gaze. You offered the chance to stand here. That is not devotion, she said. That is delusion. Then why does it bother you? He asked gently. She left without answering. Escalation. The mockery grew sharper after that. Other council members openly questioned Elias's purpose. Some suggested replacing him with an artificial envoy, less emotional, more efficient. Ashatir did not intervene. Instead, she tested him. She assigned Elias to a diplomatic mission doomed to fail, negotiating with a Karth syndicate known for exploiting frontier worlds. Success would require leverage Elias did not possess. "You may decline," she said formally. "I won't," he replied. When Elias returned weeks later, bruised, exhausted, but successful, the council chamber fell silent.
How?
Ashatir demanded. "I listened," he said simply. "They expected threats. I offered accountability." The treaty saved 3 colony systems. For the first time, Ashatir did not laugh. Still, she kept her distance. Valori leadership was not permitted emotional compromise, and humans were temporary allies at best. Then came the tidefall crisis. A seismic rupture beneath Vealora's southern sea destabilized the living city reefs. Entire districts faced collapse. Evacuation would mean abandoning ancestral structures older than recorded history. The council hesitated. Resources were finite. Choices had to be efficient. Elias stood. "Earth will assist," he said, "without conditions." Ashatir's voice cut through the chamber. "You do not have authority to promise that." "No," Elias agreed. "But I have conviction." The council overruled him. Earth aid was delayed. When the reefs began to collapse, Elias did not wait. He coordinated civilian evacuations himself, working alongside Valori engineers, placing his fragile human body in harm's way repeatedly. He saved dozens, maybe hundreds. Ashatir watched from the command spire as a falling reef nearly crushed him. Something inside her fractured. Turning point, she confronted him afterward, fury blazing. "You are reckless," she snapped. "Your death would have gained nothing." "Maybe," Elias said, coughing salt water. "But their lives mattered." "You are not Valori." "I know. Then why do you care so deeply?" Elias was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Because when we join the stars, we carry our humanity with us, or we lose it." Her voice softened despite herself. "And if that humanity is rejected, then we stay anyway," he said. "Until it isn't." That night, Ashatir could not rest. She replayed centuries of Valori doctrine, efficiency over attachment, logic over emotion, and found it suddenly hollow. Devotion, she realized, was not weakness. It was choice. Crisis, the final test came, without warning. Evidence surfaced. False, but convincing, accusing Elias of manipulating treaties for Earth's benefit. The council moved swiftly, as it always did. Exile was proposed. Ashatir was given the deciding vote. "You mocked him once," Rethkal reminded her. "This is the natural conclusion." Elias stood alone before the council, unarmed, unpleading. When asked to defend himself, he did not. "I have spoken enough," he said. "If my presence harms Vealora, I will leave." Ashatir rose slowly. She remembered every moment he had stayed when walking away was easier. She remembered the collapsing reefs. She remembered his quiet bow. "I oppose exile," she said. Gasps rippled through the chamber. She presented the evidence, flaws, fabrications, inconsistencies. She dismantled the accusation with precision no one could challenge. Then she did something unprecedented. She turned to Elias. "You were mocked for your devotion," she said, voice steady. "I believed it foolish. I was wrong." The vote shifted. Elias was cleared, but the damage lingered. Ending that evening, Elias packed his few belongings. Ashatir found him at the terrace where he had once waited endlessly. "You are leaving," she said. "Yes," he replied. "My term is complete. Earth has recalled me." She felt an unexpected tightness in her chest. You could request an extension. He smiled sadly. I won't stay where I am merely tolerated. Silence stretched between them, filled with the sound of tides. I mocked your devotion, Ashatir said quietly. And when you were finally accepted, you walk away? Elias met her gaze, calm but resolute. No, he said. I walk away because devotion must be chosen by both sides. The truth of it struck her harder than any accusation. She stepped forward. Then choose us again. He hesitated. For the first time, she continued, I am not speaking as a matron. I am speaking as myself. The twin suns dipped low, casting gold across the water. Elias set his case down. I never wanted kneeling loyalty, he said softly. Only respect. You have it, Ashatir replied. And perhaps more, if you are willing to teach us what devotion truly is. He considered her words, then nodded. I'll stay, he said. Not because I must, but because I choose to. The tides shifted, and on a world that once mocked devotion, a human refusal to walk away changed everything.